Hello, everyone. So, in this lesson, I will discuss the life and work of Sir Thomas Wyatt. We will explore how his dangerous job at the King's Court changed English poetry. I will explain also how he brought the Italian sonnet to England and made it his own. I mean, how he changed and adapted it for English language. We will also look at the specific ways he changed the original poems of Petrarch. Finally, we will see four of his most famous poems. So let's begin. Sir Thomas Wyatt, was an important poet from England. He lived a short but a very exciting life during the 1500s. He was a member of the royal court of King Henry VIII. As you know, this was a place of great power and many dangers. Wyatt is famous for bringing a new type of poem to England called the sonnet. I will talk about what a sonnet is in a moment. So Wyatt was born in 1503 in Kent. He was born into a wealthy and important family, so his parents were rich. His father was also a servant to the king. Wyatt went to college at St. John's College, Cambridge. He was very talented in music, politics, and poetry. As an adult, Wyatt worked as a diplomat for King Henry VIII. A diplomat, as you know, is someone who travels to other countries for their government. So he traveled to France, Italy, and Spain. During his travels, he read many Italian poems. He learned how to write like the famous Italian poet Petrarch. This helped him change English poetry forever. Living in the king's court was very risky. King Henry VIII was a powerful and a scary leader. Wyatt was put in prison twice in the Tower of London. One time, he was accused of having an affair with the Queen, Anne Boleyn. Many other men were executed for this, but Wyatt was spared. He even watched the Queen's, Anne Boleyn's execution from his prison cell. Wyatt's life at court influenced his writing. Many of his poems are about being betrayed or feeling bitter. He often wrote about how love is like a difficult game or a hunt. He used his poems to show the doubleness, the hypocrisy, the lies of the court. In his poems, he says, he implies that he dreams of a quiet life in the country, away from the king's drama, away from the court. He died very young. He died at the age of 39. He didn't die, surprisingly, in prison or in a fight. He died from a fever. He never published a book of his poems while he was alive. So years after his death, a printer named Richard Tottel published his work. Today, critics mostly remember him as the man who started the English sonnet as a tradition. So what is a sonnet then? A sonnet is a specific type of poem that has exactly 14 lines. It is usually written in a rhythm called iambic pentameter. This means each line has 10 syllables that follow a certain pattern where an unstressed syllable is followed by a stressed syllable. But of course, this is not actually visible in when you look at the poem on the paper. It's not possible to see it. You can only hear it when you read the poem aloud. Sir Thomas Wyatt is very important to this genre because he was the first person to bring the sonnet from Italy to England. So the sonnet began in Italy. The most famous sonnet writer was a man, an Italian poet named Petrarch. In the Italian style, a sonnet is divided into two main parts. The first 8 lines are called the octave. These lines usually follow a strict rhyme pattern. In these 8 lines, the poet often introduces a problem or a deep feeling. After the first 8 lines, there is a very important moment called the turn or the volta. This means this is a shift in the meaning or the mood of the poem, the poet might stop asking a question and start giving an answer, or he might change his mind about a feeling. This turn helps the poem move from a problem to a conclusion. The last 6 lines of an Italian sonnet are called the sestet. These lines use different rhyme patterns. When Sir Thomas Wyatt translated Petrarch's work, he made some changes, a big change to the genre. So while he kept the first 8 lines the same as the Italian style, he changed the ending. So Wyatt's sonnets almost always end with a rhyming couplet. This means the last 2 lines of the poem rhyme with each other. This was the beginning of the English sonnet structure. The rhyming couplet at the end of Wyatt's poems serves a special purpose because the 2 lines rhyme. They sound very final and strong. This allowed Wyatt to end his poems with a clear moral or a sharp summary. For example, in the poem The Long Love, the final couplet, as we will see soon next, tells us that it's good to die faithfully. This is like a final punch in the effect of the poem. So it became a very popular part of English poetry. Wyatt did not just change the structure of the sonnet, he also changed the tone. For example, for Petrarch, love was a transcendent or holy experience. But Wyatt's sonnets are often about disillusionment or being let down by the reality. His sonnets feels more obsessive and sad. So what he did is, he turned a genre about perfect love into a genre about the pain and lies found in the king's court. If you read Wyatt's sonnets out loud, you might notice they do not always sound smooth. Some readers in his time thought his rhythm was crude or rough. However, Wyatt did this on purpose. He used such a style on purpose. He wanted his rhythm, the rhyme of his sonnets, to match, to imitate the feeling of a man who is angry, tired, or struggling. So his sonnets sound like a real person talking, not like a polished, perfect song. Wyatt's work laid the foundation for future poets like William Shakespeare because he introduced the 3 quatrains and the final couplet formula, and those after him followed that. Okay, so before we look at the specific words, we should understand where this poem comes from. Sir Thomas Wyatt lived in the 1500s. He was a poet in the court of King Henry VIII. During this time, English poets were looking to Italy for inspiration. Specifically, they looked at a writer named Petrarch. Petrarch wrote many poems about a woman he loved but could never have. Wyatt took some of those Italian poems and translated it into English. However, Wyatt did more than just change the words from Italian to English. He most of the time changed the feeling of these poems. For example, if we talk about this first poem, our first poem, you see the first quatrain of the poem here. While the original Italian versions feels very soft and artistic, Wyatt's versions feels like a physical struggle. It's full of movement and military action. In these first 4 lines, Wyatt introduces us to love, not as a feeling, but as a person. This is called personification. Personification is when we give human qualities, like the ability to speak or fight, to something that is not human. So let us look at the very first line. Wyatt writes, "The long love that in my heart doth harbor." There are 2 important things to notice here. First, notice the phrase long love. This tells us that the speaker's feelings are not new. This is not a sudden crush that started yesterday. It's a feeling that has lasted for a long time. It's deep and heavy. Second, look at the word harbor. Think about what a harbor is in real life. A harbor is a place where ships go to stay safe from the stormy sea. This word tells us, by using this word, the speaker is saying that his love usually stays hidden deep inside him. It stays in his heart because the heart is a private, safe place. I mean, when love harbors in the heart, no one else can see it. It is a secret. This suggests that the speaker is trying to keep his emotions under control. He wants to keep them quiet and out of sight. The second line continues this idea. It says, and in mine heart doth keep his residence. In this line, Wyatt treats love like a person who has moved into a house. A residence is a place where someone lives permanently. By saying love keeps his residence in the heart, Wyatt is telling us that this emotion is a permanent part of the speaker. I mean, it's not, love is not just visiting for a day. Notice how the speaker refers to love as his. This is where the personification becomes very clear. Love is being described as a man, perhaps a king or a lord, who has taken over the speaker's heart. This lord lives inside the speaker's chest. For a long time, this was a private arrangement. The love stayed in the residence of the heart, and the outside world knew nothing about it. This creates a sense of peace, but it's a peace that's about to be broken. In line 3, after that, now the poem changes direction. In line 3, the speaker says, into my face presseth with bold pretense. Something has changed. Something has changed here. Love is no longer staying quietly in the harbor or the residence of the heart. Instead, love is moving upward. Love is moving from the heart into the speaker's face. The word presseth, which means presses, is very physical. It sounds like someone pushing through a crowd or forcing a door open. When the speaker says love moves into his face, he's actually describing a blush. We have all experienced this. When you feel a very strong emotion like love or embarrassment, your face turns red. You cannot stop it. Wyatt describes this blush as bold pretense. Pretense here suggests a proud display, which means love is being arrogant. It is no longer hiding. I mean, love wants everyone to see it. The speaker can no longer keep his secret because his own face is giving him away. The final line of this quatrain completes the military comparison. It says, and there campeth, displaying his banner. Wyatt uses the word campeth to compare the blush on his face to an army setting up a camp. Imagine an army arriving at a battlefield and putting up their tents. That is what love is doing on the speaker's cheeks. Then he says love is displaying his banner. A banner is a large flag that an army carries. In history, when a king or a general arrived at a place he wanted to capture, he would hang his flag to show everyone that he was in charge. So by using this image, Wyatt is saying that the red color in his face is like a red flag. I mean, it's a signal to the world, and specifically to the woman he loves, that love has taken control of him. It's like the speaker's face has become a battlefield. His private feelings have become public. He is no longer the master of his own body. Love is the general in charge. Okay. We have seen love acting like a bold soldier on the speaker's face. Now the story changes. In the second quatrain, a new character enters the poem. This character is she, the woman the speaker loves. However, she does not appear as a romantic partner. Instead, she appears as a figure of authority, almost like a queen or perhaps a strict teacher. In these 4 lines, we see how she reacts to the banner, the blush that love has displayed on the speaker's face. Let's look at line 5. She that me learneth to love and to suffer. In the English of the 1500s, the word learneth often meant teaches. So this woman is teaching the speaker 2 very different things. First, she teaches him how to love. That is the positive side. But she also teaches him how to suffer. And that is the painful side. By using the word suffer, Wyatt shows us that this love is not easy. It is not a happy or simple romance. I mean, it is a relationship where the woman is in control and the speaker must follow her rules. She decides how the speaker should behave. In a sense, this line establishes a clear power relationship. She is the teacher, and he is the student. In line 6, the speaker explains what this woman wants from him. He says, and wills that my trust and lust's negligence. The word wills means desires or demands. So she is giving a command. She wants to control 2 things in the speaker. First, his trust, which here means his hope or confidence that she might return his love. Second, she wants to control lust's negligence. Lust refers to his desire, strong physical desire, his passion. And negligence means acting without thinking or being careless. So lust's negligence is the way passion makes a person act wildly or show feelings too openly. I mean, so like the blush we saw in the first quatrain, she does not want him to be ruled by wild emotion. She wants him to be careful, controlled, restrained. Line 7 is especially important because it uses a very realistic, concrete comparison. It says these emotions should be reined by reason, shame, and reverence. The word reined comes from horse riding. A rein is the leather strap a rider uses to pull a horse's head to make it stop or turn. Wyatt compares the speaker's passion to a wild horse. If the horse is left alone, it will run away. It needs to be reined in, pulled back. The speaker identifies 3 reins that he must use. First, reason. This is his logic. He must use his mind to tell himself to stay calm. Second, shame. This is his fear of doing something embarrassing in public. Third, reverence. This is his respect, deep respect for the lady. He respects her so much that he does not want to offend her with bold displays of love. By using these 3 reins, the speaker tries to pull back his emotions and hide his feelings again. Okay, the final line of this section shows the lady's reaction. It says, with his hardiness taketh displeasure. Remember that he refers to love, the soldier we met earlier. Hardiness means love's boldness, his bravery in displaying the banner on the speaker's face. What I mean is, the lady sees this blush, this public sign of desire, and she is not pleased. She taketh displeasure, a formal way of saying that she is offended or annoyed. She does not want a bold lover who displays his feelings openly. She wants a lover who is modest, quiet, respectful, because she is unhappy with love's boldness. The situation is about to change. The soldier, Love, who seemed so brave on the speaker's face, is about to realize that he has made a mistake. In this second quatrain, the conflict becomes clear. Love wants to reveal himself. The lady wants love to remain hidden and controlled. So we see a struggle between the speaker's natural passion and the social rules of the court. Okay, we can now we move into the final 6 lines of the poem, often called the sestet. In the first 8 lines, we saw love acting like a bold soldier, a brave soldier, and then we saw the lady's cold reaction to that boldness. Now, the story reaches its conclusion. We will see how love reacts to being rejected by the lady, and finally, what the speaker decides to do about his situation. Let's look at line 9. Wherewithal, love to the heart's forest he fleeth. The word wherewithal simply means because of this, because the lady is angry. Love becomes afraid. The bold soldier we saw earlier is suddenly not very brave, not so brave. He flees or runs away. He flees. But notice where he runs to. The heart's forest. Earlier, the heart was a harbor or a residence. Now, Wyatt calls it a forest. A forest is, as you know, it's a place where it's easy to hide. It is dark, thick with trees, and private. So love is retreating from the field of the speaker's face and hiding back inside the speaker's chest. This means the speaker's blush disappears. In line 10, after that, in line 10, Wyatt writes, leaving his enterprise with pain and cry. An enterprise is a project or a mission. In this case, love's mission was to show himself and perhaps win the lady's favor. But that mission has failed. Love abandons the plan completely. The words pain and cry show us that this is not a quiet retreat. So it is a painful one. Even though love's hiding, the speaker is still suffering. The cry represents here the internal emotional hurt that happens when you have to hide your true feelings because the person you love has rejected them. So the banner has been taken down and the army is in retreat. After that, let's look at line 11. Line 11 reinforces this idea, and there him hideth and not appeareth. Love is now completely out of sight. It's hidden. It's staying deep within that forest of the heart. The phrase not appeareth means that to the outside world, the speaker now looks calm and indifferent. It's like he doesn't care. He's following the lady's rules. He's using his reason and shame to keep his face blank. However, we know from the previous lines that love's still there. It's just hiding because he's scared of the lady's displeasure. After that, the speaker asks a very important question. What may I do when my master feareth? In line 12. This is a shift in the poem. The speaker is no longer just describing love. He's thinking about his own duty. He calls love his master. In that time, I mean, in the 1500s, the relationship between a master and a servant or a king and a soldier was very serious. It was something very serious. In this line, the speaker realizes that his leader, love, is a coward. Love is afraid of the lady. So the speaker is stuck in a difficult position. If the person in charge is hiding in the forest, what's the soldier supposed to do? This line shows the speaker's frustration because he's being led by an emotion that runs away when things get difficult. In line 13, the speaker answers his own question in line 13, but in the field with him to live and die. So even though love is a coward and has run away, the speaker decides to stay loyal. He chooses to stay in the field. What he means here is that the field is the battlefield of love. So to love and die there means he will remain committed to this feeling until the end, very end, even if it brings him no happiness. This is an image of feudal loyalty. In the Middle Ages, a soldier must, a good soldier, stayed with his king, even if the king was losing the war. The speaker is saying that he cannot simply stop loving the lady just because it is difficult. He is tied because he is tied to his master, love, for better or worse. And finally, the last line, the poem ends with a thought, a final thought. For good is the life ending faithfully. This is like the moral of the story. We can say that this is the message. He is saying, Wyatt is saying that there is something noble and good about being faithful, even if your love is not returned. I mean, and even if your emotions cause you pain, remaining true to those feelings is a virtuous way to live. So you can see here that he values faithfulness above success. It is better to die as a loyal servant to a cowardly master than to be a person who changes their mind or gives up easily. It's a very sentimental, a kind of like bittersweet ending. The speaker accepts that he will suffer, but he finds comfort in the fact that he's being a good and faithful lover. Okay, so that was Wyatt. We have explored Wyatt's English version of the poem. What we will do now is we must look at the original Italian source. This poem, I mean, the original one was actually written by Francesco Petrarch in the 14th century. Petrarch is famous for creating the Petrarchan sonnet, and he also wrote hundreds of poems to a woman named Laura. In this poem, which is known as Rima 140, Petrarch explores the same conflict between private desire and, let's say, public behavior. However, you will notice that Petrarch's tone is slightly more elegant and a bit focused on the mind. While Wyatt focuses on the physical body, Petrarch focuses on the thought. So let's look at how he builds this metaphor. Petrarch begins, love, who lives and reigns in my thought and keeps his principal seat in my heart. So right away, we see a difference from Wyatt here. Petrarch says, love lives in his thought as well as his heart. This tells us that love is not just a feeling in the chest. It is an idea in his brain. It controls his brain. Love reigns, which also means that love is a king, maybe. His principal seat in this line means his throne. By placing this throne in the heart, Petrarch is saying that love is the ruler of his entire being. This, I think, is a very organized, a stable image. I mean, love is a legitimate king who has a right to be there. He is not harboring or hiding yet. So he is reigning openly inside the speaker's inner world. The poem continues, sometimes comes forth all in armor into my forehead, there camps and there sets up his banner. Okay, so you can see here that just like in Wyatt's version, love moves from the inside to the outside. But notice the detail Petrarch uses, all in armor. This is like an image of a knight. When the speaker looks at the woman he loves, his internal king wears his armor, I mean, puts on his battle gear and steps forward. So here also, instead of saying the face, Petrarch says the forehead. In literature of this time, the forehead was seen as the place where your thoughts and your honor were visible. When love sets up his banner here, he is making a proud, visible claim. The banner here is the red blush, the blush of the speaker's skin. It is a sign of passion, and the speaker cannot hide it. Then, in the second part, now in the second section, we meet the woman. Petrarch says, she who teaches us to love and to be patient and wishes my great desire, my hope to be reined in by reason, shame, and reverence. So Petrarch describes her as a teacher of patience. She wants his great desire to be controlled. Kindled means set on fire. So his love is like a fire that is starting to burn. She wants this fire to be reined in. As we discussed with Wyatt, this is the image of a horse being pulled back. She uses reason, which is the mind, shame, which is social fear, and reverence, which is respect, as the tools to prevent him, to stop him. She wants him to be a quiet, patient lover, not a bold, brave knight in armor. This section ends with, "At our boldness is angry within herself." This is an important point. In Wyatt's version, it's "she taketh displeasure," which sounds like a cold, outward rejection. In Petrarch's version, she is angry within herself. This suggests a more internal moral judgment. She is disappointed in the speaker's lack of self-control. It means she values modesty and patience above all else. When she sees the banner on his forehead, she feels he has broken the rules of polite love, courtly love. After that, in the third part now, we see the reaction. "Wherefore love flees terrified to my heart, abandoning his every enterprise, and weeps and trembles. There he hides and no more appears outside." When the lady shows her anger, the armed knight suddenly loses his courage. So Petrarch uses very strong words here: terrified, weeps, and trembles. This is much more emotional than Wyatt's version. So love is not just hiding, it's crying, it's trembling with fear. This shows us that the lady has total power over the speaker, over the speaker's emotions, because we can see that one look of anger from her is enough to turn a king into a shaking, crying child. The enterprise or the plan to show his love is completely over. It's over. Love disappears from the forehead and goes back into the dark center of the heart. After that, we are in the final part. In the final part, the poem ends with the speaker's decision. "What can I do when my lord is afraid, except stay with him until the last hour? For he makes a good end who dies loving well." The speaker, he asks a logical question here. If my leader, which is love, is shaking with fear, I have no choice but to follow him. So he says he decides to stay with love until the last hour, which means until death. And the final line is the most famous: "For he makes a good end who dies loving well." This is a very romantic idea. Petrarch is saying that even if the love is painful, and even if it is never returned by the lady, the act of loving well, I mean loving with high quality and deep devotion, is a success. So to die while still being a devoted lover is a good end. I mean, what I mean is, it is a victory of the spirit, even if it feels like a defeat in real life. Okay, now we can make a comparison of these two poems. When Sir Thomas Wyatt translated the poems of Petrarch, he changed them to fit English tastes. We call this anglicizing the poem. He took the smooth, soft Italian style and made it feel more physical and rough. This table shows 4 main ways that Wyatt changed the original Italian poem. In the original Italian poem, Petrarch says that love lives in both his thought and his heart. This makes love feel like an idea in the mind. But Wyatt changes this. He says love harbors and keeps residence only in the heart. For Wyatt, love is not a quiet thought. It is powerful. It's a powerful force that lives deep inside the speaker's body. Next, we look at how love appears on the face. Petrarch he uses a noble image. He says love comes into his forehead all in armor, like a knight. So we can say Wyatt's version is much more forceful. He says love presseth with bold pretense into his face. The word presseth sounds like a physical push. Wyatt is describing a blush that the speaker cannot control. When the lady gets angry, love must run away. Petrarch says love weeps and trembles in the heart. This makes love seem very sensitive and sad. Wyatt's love is different. He flees to the heart's forest with pain and cry. By using the word forest, Wyatt makes the heart sound like a dark, wild place where a soldier might hide after a battle. Finally, the final change is the most famous. Petrarch ends by saying it is good to die loving well. He thinks the act of love is a reward, is its own reward, but Wyatt changes the focus to loyalty. He says it is good to have a life ending faithfully, because Wyatt lived in a dangerous court, as I said earlier, where loyalty to a master was the most important rule. So here he turns a romantic idea into something like a code of honor. All right, we have a different poem now. This poem, Whoso list to hunt, is Sir Thomas Wyatt's one of the most famous works. This poem also is a translation, but this one is actually much more personal. In this poem, Wyatt uses the metaphor or the comparison of a deer hunt to describe his pursuit of a woman. It's the experience of pursuing a woman who belongs to a powerful king. Before we read the first lines, we need to understand the real-life story behind this poem. Sir Thomas Wyatt was a member of the court of King Henry VIII. Historians believe that this poem is about Anne Boleyn, the woman who would eventually become Henry's second wife. Wyatt was in love with Anne, but once the king decided he wanted her, Wyatt, of course, had to step away. In the 16th century, as you can imagine, crossing the king was a death sentence. So Wyatt uses the image of a hunt to describe this situation. In this era, in this period, hunting was a sport for the rich and the royal. It was like, it was the sport of the nobility. By comparing a woman to a hind, which is a female deer, Wyatt is showing us that this is a game where the hunter is the lover and the deer is the woman. So let's begin with the first line. Whoso list to hunt, I know where is an hind. The word whoso means whoever, and list means desires or wants. So the speaker is talking to an audience. What he is saying is, if anyone here wants to go hunting, I know where there is a female deer. And this sounds like a friendly invitation at first. He is telling other men about a beautiful prize. However, the tone is tired and bitter. He isn't excited about the hunt. He is giving up his spot. He is telling the other hunters, those are other men at the court, that they can try their luck because he is finished. The second line changes the mood completely. But as for me, alas, I may no more. The word alas shows us the speaker's sadness. He's sad. He says he may no more, which means he is physically and emotionally unable to continue the hunt. He has spent too much energy. He is quitting. So this is a very brave thing to admit, actually, in a world where men were expected to be strong and competitive. He is admitting that he has been defeated. He is not quitting because he wants to, but because he has no choice, his body and his spirit are broken. In line 3, he explains why he is stopping. The vain travail hath wearied me so sore. Let's look at these words. Vain means useless or unsuccessful. Travail is an old word for hard work or toil. So he is saying his hard work has been a waste of time. Wearied me so sore means he is extremely tired and in physical pain. It has made me tired. For example, imagine a runner who has been racing for hours and realizes he's never going to win. It's like that. That is the speaker's emotional state. He has spent years trying to win the love of this woman, and he has realized it was a vain effort. It was a job that offered, that had no reward. The first section ends with this line, I am of them that farthest cometh behind. This, I think, is a very humble and sad image, actually. The speaker is comparing himself to all the other men who are chasing this woman. He is not at the front of the group. He is at the very back. He is the slowest hunter in the forest. By saying he is coming farthest behind, he acknowledges. I mean, he accepts that he has lost the race. Others are closer to the deer than he is. This suggests that the king or other powerful men have moved ahead of him. Okay, we're in the second quatrain now. So even though the speaker says he is quitting, the second 4 lines, these lines show us that it's not that simple. He's struggling with an obsession. The speaker says, yet may I by no means my wearied mind draw from the deer. So this is the central conflict of the poem. His body is tired, but his mind will not stop. He says he cannot draw or pull his thoughts away from her. He knows the hunt is a waste of time, but he cannot stop thinking about her. This is in fact a very realistic description of love and obsession. Even when we know someone is bad for us, or even when we know we can never be with them, our brains stay focused on them. So the speaker is a prisoner of his own thoughts. After that, he continues, but as she fleeth afore, fainting I follow. The deer is fleeing or running away afore, which means in front of him. The speaker is fainting. This doesn't necessarily mean he is losing consciousness, I mean, really fainting, but that he is losing his strength. He is following her, even though he is stumbling and falling. This creates a very sad picture. The woman is fast and unreachable, and the man is crawling after her, exhausted and weak. He is like a ghost following a dream. He has no dignity left, but he cannot turn around and go home, leave her. Finally, he tries to force himself to stop. He says, I leave off, therefore, since in a net I seek to hold the wind. This is a very simple, popular comparison in poetry, actually. He compares trying to catch this woman to trying to catch the wind in a net. So think about it. You can see the wind moving the trees. You can feel the wind on your face. But if you take a fishing net and try to trap the wind, it will simply blow through the holes. This is impossible. It is an impossible task. No matter how hard you work, the wind will always escape. By saying this, the speaker admits that he is trying to do something which is physically actually impossible. The woman, Anne Boleyn, is like the wind, free, powerful, and unable to be caught by a man like him. In the final 6 lines, the speaker turns back to the other hunters and gives them a warning. He tells them why catching this deer is not just difficult, but dangerous. He repeats his warning from the beginning. Who list her hunt, I put him out of doubt, as well as I may spend his time in vain. Which means that he says to the other man, I am telling you the truth, so you don't have to wonder. He is putting them out of doubt. He promises them that they will fail just like he did. They will waste their time, their energy, and their lives. After that, in the next lines, we get a specific reason why she is unreachable. And graven with diamonds in letters plain, there is written her fair neck round about. What he says here is he describes a collar around the deer's neck. This deer, Anne Boleyn, has a collar made of diamonds. Diamonds are they represent royalty. Diamonds represent royalty. The fact that the letters are plain, clearly visible, means the message is clear. It is not a secret. Everyone can see who this woman belongs to. The collar is beautiful, but it is also a symbol of ownership. It is a leash. The collar has a Latin phrase on it, noli me tangere, for Caesar's I am. It means, touch me not. It's like a warning to Wyatt and all men. She is saying, do not touch me. Why? Because she belongs to Caesar. In this poem, Caesar is a code word for King Henry VIII. By using the name of a Roman emperor, Wyatt is saying that the man who owns this deer is the most powerful man in the world. To touch the king's property is a crime. The speaker is warning the other hunters that if they catch this deer, they will have to answer to the king. Finally, the final line is the deer's own voice. The collar says, and wild for to hold, though I seem tame. This is a warning about the woman's personality. She might seem tame. She might look like a polite, quiet lady of the court, but she is wild for to hold. This means she is impossible to control. She is a free spirit, and even the king who owns her cannot truly capture her soul. So it is a final warning. She is dangerous. She is owned by a king, and she is as uncontrollable. We can say that this poem shows Wyatt's frustration, his anger with the world of the court. He uses the hunt to show that love is often about power, property, and danger, rather than just feelings. Okay, now we'll look at a different poem. In this poem, Sir Thomas Wyatt talks about how men act when a woman stops loving them. In the 1500s, it was common for poets to write about being very sad and crying when they were rejected. Wyatt looks at these different reactions. Then he offers his own way of handling a breakup. So let's look at the title first. The title diverse doth use means many people are in the habit of. Wyatt is observing the world around him. He is looking at how other men behave when their romantic relationships end. Okay, look at the first two lines. Wyatt says, diverse doth use, as I have heard and know, when that to change their ladies do begin. The word diverse just means various people or many people. He is saying that he has seen this happen many times. He knows this behavior well. The change he mentions is very important. In this poem, change means that a lady has stopped loving one man and started loving someone else. Her heart has moved on. Wyatt is setting the stage. He is describing the moment a man realizes he has been replaced. After that, in the third line and in the fourth line, Wyatt describes the first type of reaction. He says, these men mourn and wail and never for to lean. Mourn and wail means to cry loudly and show great sadness. The word lean is an old word that means to stop. So these men cry and they never stop. Why do they do this? Wyatt says they are hoping to appease their painful woe. Appease means to calm down or satisfy. These men think that if they show enough sadness, their pain will go away. Or perhaps they hope the lady will see their tears and feel sorry for them. They think crying is a solution to their problem. Now, in the second quatrain, Wyatt talks about a second group of men. He says, "And some there be, that when it chanceth so, that women change and hate where love hath been." Chanceth so simply means when it happens. He is describing a situation where a woman's love turns into hate. This is a very strong word. It shows that the relationship did not just end, it ended badly. The love is completely gone. Wyatt is observing that feelings are not permanent. In the court of the king, people changed their minds often. I mean, love could turn into anger or dislike very quickly. How does this second group of men act? Wyatt says, "They call them false and think with words to win." These men get angry. They call the woman false, which means a liar or a cheater. They use words to try and win her back. They might argue with her. They might try to prove that she is wrong to leave them. But Wyatt says this is useless. He says her heart now otherwhere doth grow. This means her love is already growing somewhere else. She is already focused on a new person. These men are wasting their breath. You cannot use logic or insults to force someone to love you again. Now, Wyatt moves to the most important part of the poem. He talks about himself. "But as for me, though that by chance indeed change hath outworn the favor that I had." He admits that he is in the same situation. He has lost the favor of his lady. She used to like him, but now she does not. He uses the word outworn. Think of a piece of clothing that has been worn so many times. It has holes in it. It is old and useless. That is how the lady feels about her love for him. Outworn. It has simply worn out. It is over. Wyatt decides to act differently. He says, "I will not wail, lament, nor yet be sad." He refuses to be like the first group of men. He will not cry. He will not show his pain to the world. Then he says he will not call her false. He admits that she falsely did me feed. This means she might have lied to him. She might have promised to love him forever and then changed her mind. But even though she was dishonest, Wyatt will not insult her. He chooses to stay quiet. He chooses to keep his dignity. The poem ends with Wyatt's final philosophy. He says, "But let it pass, and think it is of kind, that often change doth please a woman's mind." Let it pass means he will simply move on. He will not fight it. He says this behavior is of kind. This means it is natural or part of her nature. Wyatt is saying that he believes it is natural for women to want change. Instead of getting angry, he accepts it as a fact of life. He believes that women simply enjoy new things and new love. By thinking this way, he protects himself from the pain. He doesn't take the rejection personally. He thinks this is just how things are, and he walks away. So this poem shows a very different side of Sir Thomas Wyatt. He is not the fainting hunter like we saw in the last poem. Here, he is a man who is calm and a bit cynical. He chooses to be cool and indifferent rather than sad or angry. This poem, our next poem, "They Flee From Me," is one of Wyatt's most famous works. It is about a man who is now lonely and bitter. He looks back, this man looks back at a time when he was very successful with women. While analyzing this poem, I will explore how he uses animal imagery to describe his heartbreak. In this poem, Sir Thomas Wyatt looks back, or let's say the speaker looks back at his past. He is now alone, but he remembers a time when many women visited him. This poem is about how people change. It is about how someone who was once very close to you can become a stranger. Like many of Wyatt's poems, he uses animals to describe human behavior. For example, we saw this in our earlier poem, Whoso lists to hunt, as well. In this case, in this poem, he compares women to wild animals that used to be tame and domestic. Let's look at the start. Wyatt says, "They flee from me, that sometime did me seek." The word flee means to run away in fear. Seek means they used to look for him. So what he's saying is, the women who used to want to be with him now run away when they see him. Then he says, they used to come with naked foot stalking in my chamber. A chamber is a private bedroom. Stalking is a word we use for animals, like a cat hunting a bird. They were quiet and careful, moving through his room at night. Wyatt continues the animal comparison. He says, I have seen them gentle, tame, and meek. These are words, again, we use for pets or farm animals. A tame animal is not afraid of humans. But now he says they are wild. They have forgotten him. They do not remember the time they spent together. This shows us Wyatt's sadness. He feels that the women have changed their nature. They were once kind to him, but now they act like wild animals that have never met him before. After that, he explains how close they used to be. He says they used to take bread at my hand. Think of a person feeding a pigeon or a deer. The animal must trust the person to come that close. It is a moment of danger for the animal. Wyatt is saying these women trusted him with their secrets and their bodies, but now they range. To range means to wander over a large area. They are busily seeking new things. They want continual change. They are no longer happy staying in one place or with one person. They are always looking for someone new. In the second part, Wyatt remembers one specific time, one specific meeting with a certain woman. He says, thanked be fortune, it hath been otherwise, 20 times better. He is saying, I am lucky that it wasn't always this way. He had many good experiences in the past. Then he mentions one special moment. This moves the poem from a general feeling to a specific memory. He's about to, we understand that he's about to describe a very private and important scene with one woman. He describes what the woman was wearing. In thin array means she was wearing very light, thin clothes. A guise means an appearance or a style. Then he says, her loose gown from her shoulders did fall. This is a very clear, a very physical image. The woman is undressing. In that time, in the 1500s, this was a very bold thing to write in a poem. It shows that the woman was the one taking action. So she was the one being brave and showing her love for him. The woman takes him in her arms. Wyatt says her arms are long and small, which means thin and elegant. She kisses him sweetly. Then she speaks. She asks, dear heart, how like you this? She is asking if he likes what is happening. It shows us that she was confident and in control of the situation. It was a moment of perfect happiness and connection between two people, between the woman and Wyatt, And finally, we're at the final part. Wyatt starts the final section by saying, it was no dream, I lay broad waking. So he wants the reader to know this really happened. It is not a fantasy. The memory is so clear that he can still feel it. By saying he was broad waking, he emphasizes the truth of the story. This makes the ending of the poem even more painful because we know how much he has lost. After that, now the poem returns to the present. He says, but all is turned, thorough my gentleness, into a strange fashion of forsaking. Forsaking means being abandoned or left alone. He says this happened because of his gentleness. Wyatt believes he was too kind. He thinks that because he was a gentleman, the woman felt she could leave him without any trouble. She took advantage of his good nature. He thinks she took advantage of his good nature. Their love, in line 3, he says, their love has turned into a strange fashion or a weird new trend of leaving people behind. Then the tone here after that becomes very sarcastic. Sarcasm is when you say the opposite of what you mean to show you are annoyed. He says he has leave to go because of her goodness. He is pretending that she is being good by letting him leave. But really, in fact, he is angry that she has kicked him out. She has left him. Then he says she is using newfangleness. This is a great word. It means a love for new and trendy things. He is saying she only cares about what is new. She has no loyalty to the past or to him. The poem ends with a question. But since that I so kindly am served, I fain would know what she hath deserved. Again, he is being sarcastic. He was not kindly served. He was treated badly. He says, I would like to know what she deserves. He is asking the audience, what should happen to a woman who treats a man like this? He doesn't give an answer. He leaves the question open. He wants the reader to think about maybe justice and fairness in love. He feels he has been a good lover and she has been a wild animal. So we can say this poem is one of the most powerful poems about the end of a relationship. It shows how the same person can be tame and loving one day and wild and cold the next. Okay, the conclusion. So we can look at this table that I made. So far, we have now looked at 4 different poems by Sir Thomas Wyatt. These are The Long Love, Whoso List to Hunt, Diverse Doth Use, and They Flee From Me. When we see them together, we notice that Wyatt has a very specific way of looking at relationships. For him, love is not a happy fairy tale. It is a world of power, danger, and constant change. So let's look at how he describes women and the feeling of being in love. In these 4 poems, we can see that the woman is always the person with the most power. However, her personality changes. Let's see, for example, in the first poem, remember, she is like a judge who wants the man to hide his feelings. In Whoso List to Hunt, she is a royal deer that belongs to Caesar or the king. In the last 2 poems, she is someone who likes change. Wyatt says it is her kind or her nature to move from one man to another. So we can say whether she is a strict judge or a wild animal, she is always the one, I mean, it's always her who decides to leave or stay. How does the man feel in these poems? He is usually tired or disappointed. In The Long Love, he is a soldier. The speaker is a soldier who must follow orders. In Whoso List to Hunt, he is a hunter who is fainting because he can never catch the deer. In Diverse Doth Use, he is a man trying to keep his dignity by not crying. Finally, in They Flee From Me, he is a man who remembers a special night, but is now left alone. So, in all 4 poems, the man is reacting to a situation he cannot control. Wyatt uses very physical images to show that love is dangerous. For example, he talks about hunting a deer that belongs to a king. This was a real danger in the 1500s. He talks about love pressing into his face like a banner. He talks about nets and collars and wild animals. These images tell us that love is not just about words. It is a physical struggle. To Wyatt, for Wyatt, I mean, being in love feels like being in a war or a chase where you are most likely to get hurt. The most important word in Wyatt's poetry is change. In diverse doth use, he says, women love change. In they flee from me, he says, they look for continual change. This reflects the world Wyatt lived in. At the king's court, a person who was your friend today could be your enemy tomorrow. Wyatt warns his readers that love is not permanent. He tells the readers, he tells us that the only way to survive is to be loyal to yourself, even when the person you love decides to flee, to run away. So by comparing these four poems, we see that Wyatt was a poet of the real world. We can say his poems were quite realistic, and he wrote about the pain and the politics of love in a way that still feels very honest today.